Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz, guys. Welcome to YouTube exclusive number 4. Guys, if this is your first time joining us for a YouTube exclusive, so these are a little bit different from our normal podcast episodes. You know, these are kind of condensed versions of our podcast episodes. You know, sometimes we cover topics in these videos that we've covered more in depth on a podcast episode, and we just shorten them here. Or, like today, we talk about something, or like last time, sorry, we talk about something completely new that we haven't covered yet. And sometimes we'll preface things within these exclusives and then talk about them in a podcast episode later on. But we also like to keep these ones shorter, more quick to the point, just a couple points, and then we're out, you know. And something else we like to do is we're gonna try and go to a different location for every single one of these YouTube exclusives. And today, we find ourselves here at my old middle school.
Your alma mater? Technically?
I did graduate.
Yeah, you did graduate.
Yeah, I mean, I was the, what do they call that?
Got 8th grade.
Yeah, it was close. It was a close call. Gold team was, they were pushing for me to graduate, and we had to pull some strings, you know. But yeah, we find ourselves at my old middle school here. The goalposts here on the football field, they need to be upgraded.
Yeah, replacement is in the works.
Literally, literally looks like they're from 1851.
It literally might have been when football was actually invented.
This might have been the first football field ever.
No, ever.
Yeah, which would explain why the stands are so small too.
That also,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Oh boy, so let's hop in here. YouTube exclusive number 4. What are we talking about?
So, guys, as the title says, it's New America. You know, some of you might think of the Halsey song as we thought of, New Americana.
Yes.
Which is a phenomenal song, by the way.
It is.
But
shameless plug for Halsey.
Shameless plug for Halsey. Sponsor us, Halsey, please.
That'd be great.
That'd be cool. But New America, the whole concept of that is we want to talk about a couple different standards, physical and mental, that relate to things we believe Americans should be doing. Yes. Obviously, most of our audience, a lot of times, is men. So a lot of this applies to you guys, but this today will definitely apply to our female listenership as well.
Absolutely.
Now, so that's great.
What about the they thems? Think it applies to them?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I would imagine they don't enjoy 6'2" plus bearded guys speaking about things.
Probably triggers them.
Straight white men. Yeah, I would imagine that's not something they enjoy.
No, that's a good call.
Yeah,
it's a good call.
See, we always get the triggering out of the way because then they can click off the episode, and then the real people can
wrong video.
Yep.
I gotta go figure out why I'm offended today.
Or they can go to the comment section, even better. Engagement.
Perfect. Yes. Jeez.
But guys, first thing with the physical standards is, and we've talked about male and female physical standards before, but this is a little bit different because we want to actually chat on in general how important fitness is as an American, but I mean, this go for the world, of course, but we're talking about Americans today.
Because it starts with us. That's not to cut you off there, but you know, especially it's obviously an election year. We just had a debate. When you guys are watching this, debate would have been 2 weeks ago, I believe, with our 2 wonderful presidential candidates.
Yeah, really.
I will say Trump looked real good. As it went on, like it just became a yelling match essentially. You know, and then they talked about golf for a minute, which was odd.
Which is again, right? Like, that's we go into a whole conversation about that.
Yeah. Anyway, not the point. But you know, if we want not only the country to change, but the world to change as well, like it really does start with the United States. We see that more and more now with just the direction the world has gone and is going. You know, a lot of these standards we're about to cover here real quick, a lot of those are starting to slip away, which is why we find ourselves in the dire situations that we are in and are continuing to go towards. And so it starts with the United States, you know, getting these standards back to being standards, because it really seems, you know, back in the old days, whatever the old days really are, these were the standards. You know, you would look at beaches and everyone was hot, everyone was fit. You know, now you look at beaches, it's like, is that a whale that's out of water? Like, what is that?
Beached, usually. And dude, it's sloppy. It's like beaches are a great example, actually, of the physical standard that's fallen for America.
Yes.
Because again, we're not talking about, you know, how many pull-ups you can do today or something or how much you can bench. Like, we're not talking about that today at all. We're talking about being physically fit, like metabolically healthy.
Yeah.
And I believe the last numbers are over 80 to 85% of the population are metabolically unhealthy, which basically means their body, put simply, doesn't function the way it's supposed to.
And
which
like,
is concerning.
And take into account, you just said 80 to 85%, and maybe we need to check those just to make sure they are that high, which I would believe that they are that high. But think about that. You take a group of 10 people, and somewhere between 8 and 9 of them are metabolically unhealthy.
Exactly.
Like, that's not good. That's not okay.
Yep.
So these standards, guys, the physical standards, it's very simple. It's very, very simple. Being in shape, number one. That's top. And everything else that we're about to say just goes back to that. Being in shape, being healthy, you can enjoy your or indulge a little bit, at times, like, that's okay, Sometimes we will drink a little bit, we will go out to a restaurant or whatever, and even then, really, we still get, like, wraps and stuff. But, being healthy, being fit, finding yourself in the gym, at a consistent basis, at a minimum of 2 to 3 times a week, you're training hard, right? You are training versatilely. Is that a word?
Yeah, in a versatile manner.
Right. That's a much better way of saying that, And we were kind of discussing before as we were coming up with our points, guys, that, we are not against really any types of training. If you're a power lifter, great, you're strong. Like, you're stronger than probably 90 to 99% of the population, for that matter. Is it the most functional? Maybe not.
Right.
Bodybuilding, certainly something we still continue to do. We combine it with some other things, but bodybuilding, it's a great way to train. You can't beat the pump. You really can't. If you train like a bodybuilder, you're probably strong, okay? But you also look good. You're probably confident in your physique. You've put a lot of work into it. It takes time to look like that. And that's something that you have to earn, with or without PEDs, for that matter. So you still look good. You can have confidence in the way you look. If you take your shirt off, you're going to like what you see. Now, if you train more functionally and like an athlete, which is obviously what we typically find ourselves doing, then you're going to be a functional human being. You're going to be able to go out and run around with your kids or with your friends or whatever. We still put together football games or frisbee or whatever. And
pickleball.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's a great example.
We both still play our sports too.
Yeah, we do.
Baseball, hockey,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm out there with my boys still fielding ground balls and playing catch almost every single day and taking swings and stuff. I love it. If I trained like a bodybuilder full-time or a power lifter full-time, I'm probably not going to be able to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Not to mention, your boys are training the way of an athlete.
Correct.
So it's also good for you to train that way too, because it looks good for them too. Because they see Coach Jake doing it and they're like, oh, that's obviously we're doing some pretty sweet stuff.
100%.
If he's able to still play at 25, be a savage, you know what I mean?
And something that goes into that too is them seeing the movements that I'm coaching them on, like, that's going to make me more reliable and make my credibility continue to go up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So we definitely recommend the more functional athletic style. An athlete, it doesn't mean that you have to run 100-yard sprints every single day. Now, should you still incorporate things like sprints and cardio of that fashion? Absolutely. But we are not against really any of those types of training. I'm sure we're forgetting some other main ones, but those are really like the main 3.
Yeah, if we're talking strength training,
exactly.
Because again, you can work up to like 1 to 2 days a week strength training. You could do, if you want to do running, 1 to 2 to 3 days a week as well.
Yeah.
If you want to also have the sprint workout in there too, that's great.
Yeah, because all of that falls under that functional umbrella.
Exactly.
The functional training has obviously become very popularized here.
It's also become
the hybrid
the use
thing.
of it, functional, has been like overused in a lot of ways.
It has.
But
it has.
It still stands.
100%. And the great thing about it is there's so many different things that you can do that will fall under that category.
Yeah.
But any of those 3, like, if you're consistently doing any of them, you're already headed in the right direction, and you're already in a better position than a lot of the population, that 80 to 85% that he just mentioned. So as far as
if not higher.
If not higher, yeah. So as far as the physical standards, like, they're pretty simple.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. It's being consistent, it's eating good most of the time, and it's finding yourself in the gym at a consistent rate.
Yeah, and the ability to have confidence in your own movement.
You know
what I mean? And if you want to go do an activity, you have a confidence you're able to do it. Which again, as we were mentioning, like, the risk with bodybuilding, powerlifting, and you do that, like, let's say 5-6 days a week, and that's the only thing you do. You don't run, you don't sprint, you don't do any other types of styles of lifting and whatnot. The downside is like, if your friends want to go play a football game, you might have issues.
You might struggle.
Yeah,
and we've seen it.
We have seen it.
You know what I mean?
We have seen it, and again, like that's not hating on those at all.
No.
You know, if you don't want to go play football games, then like that's probably the two training methods for you and whatnot. But I like the idea of being able to play catch with my kids, or you know, go on the ice with my kids and whatnot.
Or one of us texts you, hey, let's play pickleball today after we're done filming.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like, bet, ready to go. You know what I mean?
That's the key right there, because it's like at the drop of the hat, are you able to do these things?
Right.
And does your type of training supplement that?
Correct.
That's the big, like if your friends want to go on a 4-mile run, like I did earlier this week.
Yeah.
I was able to do it. Now it kicked my ass for sure. It sucked for sure. But the point is, I was still able to do it. I'm still able to get through it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So being ready for types of movement, essentially whatever you want to do, is what we recommend personally.
Yeah. And honestly, things like pickleball can be your cardio for that day.
Absolutely.
Like it's not like you have to play pickleball and then go for a 4-mile run. Like either one of those are great options.
You and I look like wet dogs after we got done last time we played.
100%. Which if you don't, then you're not playing hard enough.
That's also a good point. Yeah. Apparently you hate competition if you're not.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So let's move on to the more mental or just kind of like life standards that we want to cover here too. These ones, I'm not going to say they're more important, but these are damn important.
Oh, they're key.
Yeah. These are extremely key. So first and foremost, thinking for yourself. There's a lot of things right now in our world, whether it's the media or social media, and we'll cover that again here in a second, but that are trying to tell you how to think, what to think, what you should do with your life, how you should live your life, why you should be offended by this and not this, why you should support this and not this, support this person and not this person. I mean, so many different modes of media are telling you what to think instead of just informing you. Be like, hey, here's what happened here, here's what happened here. Do with it what you want. You know what I mean? We don't have that right now. We really don't. So, freaking bugs.
Missouri summer, ladies and gents.
No kidding. So, thinking for yourself is number one. Trying to find sources that will just give you information and then leave it there instead of telling you what to think based off of their information.
Absolutely, dude.
There's a big differentiation there. One that goes in with that is not over-consuming. Not over-consuming your social media or your media. Whether that's the news, I don't care if it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC, Wall Street Journal, like I don't care what it is, but not over-consuming those things, because then you're going to be a one-sided person. You know what I mean? And now granted,
you're also going to be a political robot, essentially.
Exactly. 100%. And you're just going to live in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're just going to only hear what you want to hear. You're only going to hear what you believe. And listen, we both fully understand that our country right now is extremely polarized. It's either you're way over here to the left or you're way over here to the right. And which is funny because most of the stuff on the right, quite honestly, and even some of the stuff on the left is really just more middle.
Yeah, exactly.
But people just automatically assume it's one side or the other.
Yep.
There's nothing in here anymore.
Yeah.
When in reality, most of us in the population are in this middle area.
Yep.
As far as the politics go.
Yeah, like using tax dollars for the right reasons.
100%.
That type of stuff is a good example of something that maybe like the left likes to tax a little bit more and whatnot.
Right.
And they have the idea that taxes work for you, which we found out that they don't because of Ukraine, Israel, etc. But that's not the point. So you got the left side. The right side, financial literacy is very important on the right side, and understanding the economy and how important the economy is super important. So that's also a thing that can be in the middle as well. Keeping more of your money, 100%.
Yes.
Having family values is a big thing on the right as well.
Yes.
And again, the right, we're not talking about the politicians in DC because they're all scumbags.
Right.
But that's not the point. So we're talking about more of like the conservative leaning. Again, and the left, like they have a lot of the bleeding heart, which isn't always a bad thing.
No.
Like you want to care about people.
100%.
So that's another thing that's good for them. And you meet in the middle right there.
Right.
And you can work with these values around those things that don't end up going like down demonic routes and whatnot.
Right.
And going like the far here,
right.
like this. It's like, we're not going to gain anything out of it.
100%.
So that thinking for yourself is where that comes into play, because it's you being able to look at an opinion and being like, I'm going to give this a shot for a second. Because I have plenty of clients myself who, again, working with general population, have not had the same opinions as I've had. And I just sit there and ask them questions. I don't like challenge them on things, which wouldn't make any sense anyways, because I'd ruin the session too. But
it's true.
But
and possibly lose you a client.
Exactly. but the thing is like a lot of the times I start prying questions, and they have very logical stances on a lot of things too.
Yeah.
Like sure, or like they polarize in certain things, maybe, but for the most part, they're pretty logical people.
Yeah, right,
you know?
right.
So I don't know. That Think for Yourself one's so good.
Yeah, it really is. And next it's building a life.
Right.
Building a life you want to live. That's obviously what we're working on here with Untapped. Not only the social media side of it and the podcast and the YouTube side of it, but also with our training. We're a perfect example of that. We're two guys that are 25 years old, and we're at a prime age to really determine our future. You know what I mean? And we're trying to determine that with our own hands. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with not starting a business or not trying to grow social media and things like that. Like, if you don't want to do that, like, that's all good. Like, it's cool. You know what I mean? It just happens to be what we're choosing to do, because we believe for what we want to do, the messages that we believe in, the training, like, we believe that's the best mode for it, But if that's not what you want to do, like, it's all good. Go be an entrepreneur at an awesome company,
Yeah, because if everybody was entrepreneurs, it wouldn't exactly work very well.
It wouldn't.
Yeah.
It wouldn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, every business, really every business was started by an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah.
Which, like, that's how that works. But
I can see the wheels turning there.
Right. Well, 'cause I was trying to figure out how I want to word that without just sound like an actual idiot. But we put a good.
Okay. I would say we've sounded like idiots plenty of times on these podcasts. So yeah, it's okay.
Yes. But go find you a great company that stands for what you believe in, hopefully stands for what the country believes in, and the betterment of the country, the betterment of the values that we're talking about right now, because we believe like that's the direction the country should be going. And it's not all, all Republicans and all conservative and stuff. Like he just mentioned that the combination of the two logically thinking sides, like that is where the fruit can really grow as the country, as a country that we want it to be. And you need both sides. Too much of one side is not going to be good or productive for anybody. Right. You know what I mean?
100%.
Now, is that maybe thinking a little idealistically? Maybe, with the current state of things. But that's why we have conversations like this.
Yep.
So it's building a life, whether that's entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, whatever that is for you and your family, for yourself, for if you have kids, whatever it is, like do that, build it to how you want it to look, and then just go balls to the wall on it. Yeah. Seriously, give all the effort you possibly can, and if you're lucky enough to have a partnership that works really well, all the better, because, and we've experienced this, if I'm lacking for a certain period of time, you're able to pick that up.
Absolutely.
If you're lacking for a certain period of time, I'm able to pick that up. And then when we're both just going, like, it's awesome.
Oh,
it's awesome.
See you, buddy.
You know what I mean? Like right now, we're kind of in the middle of that where my baseball season has been going, so I'm a little bit more hands off with some of our stuff. You're able to take on the brunt of some of that. You know what I mean? Like it works well.
Sure.
So if you're lucky enough to be in a partnership, and especially one that works well,
which in our case we encourage it because it's what we've experienced.
100%.
Well,
yeah. And there's pros and cons to partnership, to sole entrepreneurship, and maybe even a group or whatever. There can be plenty of success in whatever mode. You just have to have the right people. Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that means you can agree on things. You can challenge each other on things. You can talk through problems, whether that's problems, for clients or problems in the business or whatever. You can talk through those things. You can figure out solutions, and just bottom line, you can work well together. So that's the important things for when you're working with someone else or with other people.
So it's so funny you were talking about this is what's actually interesting, because you and I like to joke that we're like two idiots a lot of times doing this.
Right.
It's actually, if you really think about it, it makes a good point that two goofballs who maybe like you wouldn't think of as like, I don't know, like necessarily like the top dog dudes or whatever, like we can do this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so like any of you guys, like it doesn't mean you have to be a Stephen Hawking IQ to be able to do this.
Right.
Because we sure as hell don't have Stephen Hawking
definitely
IQ.
Not.
Like,
definitely not.
So, but it's like we can still provide value to however many people and whatnot, which is incredible to get to do that as well.
Right.
And it's a realistic dream to be able to do that. And I want to hit on the entrepreneurship point again, how you were talking about work for a company you really love. As a rehab specialist and working in corrective exercise for having experience in it for like 2+ years now, give or take, and seeing people in pain all the time, guys, if you work for a company you hate, your pain is also going to be worse. It adds to your stress levels.
And you're talking physical pain.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
you're not
talking
even talking
mental
mental.
pain. Because the mental pain can then enhance your physical pain because you hate where you work. So you need, and the thing is, you can be in any field and find a company that has a direction to it.
Oh, yeah.
Mitchell's a good example of that. My brother, our producer, he is a very good example of that. He's in cybersecurity, which some people would think is super boring and whatnot. But his company has direction, so he loves it. So, and that's how it is. Like any time we find somebody that is like they're all of a sudden they're feeling really good out of the blue, it's always because things at work are either going really well, or they just left the job they were at, and they didn't like that company. So that's a big thing. I mean, you have to have that mission to follow at work. You can supplement it by having it outside of work, but man, work is a big part of your life. You're an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, it's minimum 8 hours of your day. If not more, because of emails and all that other stuff. So I don't really recommend having that 8 hours be a shit 8 hours. I really don't. And
there's also times where, you might have a few weeks, a week, a month, a 6 month stretch where things are a little bit more difficult.
Things are rough.
You know what I mean? And so there are still times where maybe you're in the middle of one of those situations or one of those stretches where you got to just get through it. So it's not just like, oh, work today was hard, so I'm going to quit.
I'm going to quit.
Right. It's like, that's not what we're advocating for here.
No.
Now, if you've been there for 2+ years or however long, and things continue to not get better, okay, then maybe that's a situation that you start looking for a switch, So it's evaluation, that's all.
Yeah, having an understanding about your life and the situation you're at, how can I better it, that type of stuff is just the real key. Like you don't have to go super, like you don't have to either be the one extreme of like, again, you have a bad day and you quit. Or the other extreme where you spend 30 years with a company you hate and you don't quit, you stay there the entire time and then you die early because of all the stress from that. So you can either pick one of the other extremes, or you can choose the logical decision and evaluate where you're at. Add to your skills so that way you're more valuable to another company that maybe has a great direction to it, and go from there.
And that was kind of our last point, was just always adding new skills. Always trying to figure out ways to be better. You can do that by reading books, listening to productive podcasts like the Untapped podcast.
Shameless plug.
But and there's plenty of great podcasts out there. There's plenty of great social media accounts you can follow. Plenty of great books to read. That are going to help you forge new skills and be able to carry those into your life and be better. So, that was kind of our final point there. So, guys, just keep everything that we just talked about, keep that all in mind. We're probably around 15 minutes or so, if I had to guess here. So, again, quick hitting, quick points here, but very, very important things to keep in mind for your life and for just your life, in general, on the physical side, on the mental and living side of your life. All these things are just extremely important if you want to be the person that you want to be. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, dude.
So, guys, until next time, peace and love.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Boom.
Boom.